I'm your host, Dr. Michael Lynch, and welcome to The Lynch Factor. Today we'll talk about the breakdown of consciousness and tachyon waves within consciousness, also with the human body. Now, we all know in parapsychology and psychology and biochemistry that EEG is the best way to find out what's happening in the brain. But really it's not, because an EEG can only take on 16 to maybe 20 different wavelengths at one time. It can probably process even more, maybe in the 30s, depending on how many electrodes you put onto the brain, and then you offer a stimuli. In this idea is that the cells in the brain will start talking to each other, and they'll be recorded by their electromagnetic connections. In this idea is that you're just seeing the wave oscillations of electricity, or bioelectricity, or biochemistry, however you want to say it, neurological processes. But this is far too little. There's just not enough wavelengths to record. There's actually far greater wavelengths to record. Recording it through EEG is like monitoring the electricity in your house. You plug something in and it works, transfers of energy, or you have electricity in your house but you don't know where it's coming from. So every outlet works, all your devices work, but you're just really monitoring what outlet has what electricity, and then that's all. You're also monitoring brain wavelengths that actually just prove that you have a brainwave. The transfer of energy in the brain is only a buffer, a filter of really what's happening. In the true tachyon signature of our senses of the human body, in the most basic form, the most rudimentary form, we can look at hearing. And there are 575 different wavelengths connected to just hearing alone. There is 650 connected to sight. Now, these are wavelengths inside the brain monitoring sight. All the colors to the cones and rods into the cerebral cortex, and voila, we have imagery. But there's over 650 different wavelengths just for sight. For taste, it's 419 different wavelengths that make up taste. So you can see we're getting way out there. To have smell, you need 499 different wavelengths to monitor the scent or smell or aroma that you are smelling. The idea is that all these wavelengths are inside the body. Just in the hand alone, just to touch, there are 550 different wavelengths that monitor the touch of your hands. So when you touch something, there are 550 different wavelengths that go into consciousness to assess what you're touching. Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it rough? Is it smooth? On and on and on. And then what are you touching? Am I touching my clothes? Am I touching the table? Am I touching a chair? Maybe I'm touching my steering wheel. Consciousness has to translate these wavelengths into this reality, or it pulls from the reality to make the difference in the connection. Consciousness alone is thousands of different wavelengths. Your stomach, your lungs, your heart. It goes on and on. Inside the body, on an average, there's 27,180 different wavelengths. 27,180 different wavelengths that monitor our body on the inside. Now, we've all heard the study of the guys who've gotten to a cafeteria or a gymnasium, and they would just sit there, and then a subject would walk in unaware that they were there, and they would just stare at that subject. And lo and behold, not knowing what's going on, the subject would turn around and say, "Who's staring at me?" These exterior senses radiate beyond the body, but on the outside of our body, there are 2,408 different frequencies on the outside of your body as receptors that come in. Those receptors are signals that you're accepting or you're sensing from outside the body. So you can't sense microwaves, but my cell phone is a receiver of microwaves, and so is my body. Instead of passing through, sometimes it accepts them. And we all know the damage X-rays or microwaves can do to DNA, but our body is sensing it whether we understand that or not. The biology of the human race is basic, very basic. It's just enough for us to be aware of our environment, our sensory perception. In total, there are 29,590 different wavelengths inside and outside my body, sensing my environment, trying to understand what's going to happen next. The future, the past, the present is all stacked on top of my ability to have the senses to understand. And the best effort we can do is that consciousness is all around us. Our bodies emanate consciousness. We are sentient. It's not because I think, therefore I am. It's because I can process the data, the information coming in through my sensory perceptions that make me human. If someone is colorblind or tone deaf, or even taste deprived, taste blind as we call it, these are a reduction in those wavelengths due to cellular matter, cellular DNA processes. So we can have the maximum amount, or we can have then minimal amounts. But when we leave the body, we have tremendous amounts of information coming in. And we're no longer using the biological structure of the body as a buffer or translator to these sensory perceptions. In the near-death experience, when they go to the other side, into the afterlife, they see colors that they cannot describe. They feel emotions that they never had before. And then when they come back to life, when they're resuscitating, come back to life, lo and behold, they have not the vocabulary, no vocabulary to say what they experienced. 29,000 different wavelengths and beyond. And this is just the beginning. All of this energy that radiates from my body, through my body, is tachyons. We virtually glow with tachyon energy. And that glow can be called an aura, biological, neurological, sensory dome around us. But that's what makes us human. That's how our cells get information to divide. That's what makes my lungs expand and contract. That's what makes my heart beat. Autonomic, sympathetic. Energy transferring throughout my body in wavelengths that only it understands. Not my mind. But my consciousness regulates all of that. There's an old saying, your subconscious owns 90% of you, and your conscious mind is only 10%. In the subconscious, you get this information. You get it, and you try to translate it, either through sleep, or dreams, or imagination. The logical mind can accept all of it, but it accepts it and tries to reason through it, wading through all of these signals and wavelengths to come up with a kosher norm of reality that we all are in agreement on. So the next time you get an EEG, the next time you get EKG, the next time you stub your toe. Think of the wavelengths that are going through your body. Think of all the cell phones that people are talking on right now by a cell tower. 150,000 a second different cell phones are emanating through your body, no matter where you are. You could be in an airplane and have over 200 different cell phone microwave transmissions running through your body. And some of us get confused when we go to the grocery store and try to pick out which green beans we like, and do it frozen or canned, or is it carrots or peas? We're inundated with information. That's what makes capitalism work, is by selling you an item through information. But sometimes we have information overload for our conscious mind, and we have to use the subconscious mind to feel our way through. We know something not because we think we know something because we feel we think we know. You have more neurons and nerve receptors in your stomach. The gut feeling. Why is the gut feeling more important than the brain? Because you have twice as many neuron receptors in your gut. Same as your heart. You love with your heart, you break your heart. That is because of the program of love. Now, we can make a debate, I'm not going to start that here. Is love tachyons? Or does love equal the wavelengths of tachyons that we can associate in? It is often known through Kirlian photography, through blood tests, through neurological testing, through the EEG, that when we're in love, we have a different state of mind. I can put a person in a PET scan or MRI, and you can tell when they're in love, their endorphins just go crazy. Their biochemistry goes crazy. But they're not sick. They act like they're sick, they're lovesick. But that's just an emotion that we can't process the entire vocabulary. We can't process all the wavelengths. So we have idioms for this. You know, I don't know what it is, but it's something. I don't know what it is, but I feel something. And this connection is all coming from wavelengths, from beyond and inside our body. Tachyons. Everything emanates and radiates tachyons. So when you're next time in a room or a crowded area and you feel someone is watching you, that is because your energy, there's 2,000 different wavelengths of energy out there amongst the crowd, and each person has that. Trying to connect, trying to survive, trying to blend with the environment. Every human body is slightly different, but our DNA, internal organs are all the same. Some things we can see, some things we can hear, some things we can taste and touch, and other things we feel, we know, but we cannot prove. In some aspects, this should be helpful, because what we are looking at of the human body and the wavelengths that are in it, what we're looking at, the devices that are present, it's just a small amount of really what's happening inside. When they first took a prism of glass and they put the sunlight through it, everyone thought light was just white. It was just everywhere. But when the sunlight hit a prism, it reflected out 7 or 8 different colors. And they go, oh my God, light's not comprised of one thing. It's not just photons. It's made up of different frequencies. And you have to ask yourself, why are those frequencies there? Because your eye and your brain need them to be able to deal with reality. If you don't have that, you have hearing. If you don't have that, you have taste, touch, smell. All of these are for our understanding of our environment and our survival. but it's almost impossible to count everything at the same time. Your brain is processing all of this, and your subconscious is processing it even faster. So sometimes we need to back off a little and think with our hearts, our stomachs, our souls, our consciousness, and our minds. We unlock this door with a key of imagination. The imagination is what nothing can stop. Nothing can get in the way. The imagination is the only thing that's not governed by anything. But everything else in the body is governed by something. And this is tachyon wavelengths from and for our consciousness. Thank you very much. This has been my lecture on tachyons and consciousness. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.